Oh, hi. I'm Leonard Maltin. Actually, I'm not Leonard Maltin, but if I were to be Leonard Maltin, I would probably sound like this. Actually, Leonard Maltin is in fact a famous film critic and author, which kind of clumsily segues into my topic for the day. So my name is Chris Kilcullen, and I'm going to be discussing movies adapted from books. So books are probably one of the earliest forms of emergent media, as they've been around for centuries and are currently in the adaptation phase of its life cycle, thanks to items such as the Kindle and other such devices, which make books more accessible to their readers. Film, on the other hand, has comparatively been around for over 100 years, and though it too is in the adaptation phase of its life cycle, the technology involved in making movies has been rapidly changing and evolving over the years, keeping them more relevant, more popular than ever. And though these two forms are quite different in how they deliver their message to the masses, they're actually very closely linked. Books like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, the Marvel movies, 50 Shades of Grey, and The Maze Runner. Some of the biggest and some of the not so big film franchises of all time have actually been based on books. In fact, there may even be movies that are some of your favorites that you never knew were actually based on books. Movies like Shrek, Mrs. Doubtfire, 101 Dalmatians, Forrest Gump, Blade Runner, Goodfellas. All of these movies were actually based on books. Now, movies using books as a source of their stories is a tradition dating all the way back to the advent of the moving picture, just before the 20th century. And some notable books that were some of the first to be adapted into films were Alice in Wonderland, Gulliver's Travels, and A Christmas Carol. And probably what is actually one of the most famous works of early film, A Trip to the Moon, was actually based on a couple of Jules Verne novels. And since then, there have been multiple versions of Alice in Wonderland, and Gulliver's Travels, and A Christmas Carol has been produced over 20 times in various different versions, one of the best of them being something that involved something called a Muppet. Now, a big part of the idea of films being adapted from books is just how accurate the film adaptation is. This has been quite a divisive process, and one that has created a lot of discussion over the years. Some may like the films more, some may enjoy the books more. I personally love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, I was a fan of Lord of the Rings before the movies came out. I'd read the books a couple of times, and the movies came out. I was totally enamored. But I also remember going over them with a fine-tooth comb, being, oh, well, this wasn't from the book, or this part in the movie, that wasn't in the book at all, or I really wish they had kept this line of dialogue in there, or I wish they had maybe made this song a part of it instead of this thing, and why did they make this up for the movie? But it didn't change my love of it, and I still loved it, and I guess being able to compare the two played a large part into my enjoyment of it. Now, the Harry Potter books, I enjoy the books, I enjoy the films, and ultimately I think I kind of ended up liking the books more, but it wasn't until recently, and thanks in large part to the Marvel Cinematic movies, that I started completely separating the film adaptations from their book counterparts. Now, I was outside of Rita's one night getting some ice cream, and I met a man who noticed my Guardians of the Galaxy t-shirt and asked me what I thought about the newest Avengers movie. He asked if I followed the comic books at all and started complaining that none of the events happened in the books, so I tried explaining to him that he should view them separately, the movies kind of being inspired by rather than direct adaptations of the books themselves. So, for example, if you look at the film Captain America Civil War and the comic book event Civil War, which was over 100 issues long and featured just about every single character Marvel was writing for at the time, the two are nothing alike, aside from the fact that you have Iron Man and Captain America butting heads and fighting each other. But if you strip it down to its bare essentials, both stories are about a catastrophic event involving superheroes in which innocent people are hurt, which then leads the government to regulate superpowered people, which ultimately is what leads to the schism amongst the heroes. So I started looking at both mediums when it came to adaptations as separate entities. Books can take as long as they want to tell a story, but movies generally only have about 2 hours to do so and must tell a story in an entertaining and engaging way. So it only makes sense that not everything can be kept in, or that they need to change certain things or certain plot details in order to fit the narrative of the cinematic story that they're trying to tell. So, the next time you're watching a film adaptation, don't compare the two, and just try to enjoy them for what they are. Now, as Forrest Gump would say, That's all I have to say about that. This is Chris Kilcullen signing off. Thanks for tuning in.